So I started going out with Chico. We had a deal. He could bite anybody but me. And he did. And we go on patrol, and a lot of the areas where we patrol would be rice paddies. And rice paddies are all these dikes you got to walk along zigzag. And oftentimes we come up onto wood line. And one of the things when a scout dog handler is my dog was trained to alert on enemy personnel. And I had to read at the exact time when he was alerting where the wind was coming from, what the terrain was like, so I could tell him ahead of time, it's 200 meters in this direction is where I think something's going on. It was an early alert system. So I'm watching my dog all the time, so I would tell the company, it's really important to have 2 guys right behind me. I want the rest of the patrol right behind me because my rifle's slung over my shoulder. I'm not paying attention. I'm watching my dog. You need to be right up with me. Funny thing would happen all the time. When I'd walk through the rice paddies and head to a wood line, anytime I was walking up on a wood line, what would happen is I'd turn around and all of a sudden close became 2,000 meters. They were way back. And it's like, no, I'm not your guinea pig. And I used to really get angry. It's like, after all, I'm here to walk point for you, and you're deserting me. And then what I figured out is they didn't feel safe. They didn't trust my dog like I trusted my dog. That's part of leadership. I figured out when it looked dangerous, my job was to pay attention and stop more often to make sure they were pulled up. When I'm running Life Success and the economy's bad and things aren't going right, it's my job to stop and reassure everybody on my team that we're going to be okay. Question 2, am I safe? If you're really excelling at what you do, you'll probably never feel safe. You'll probably be afraid. But that doesn't mean you can't keep making decisions. And as leaders, it's our responsibility to pull the troops up. That's our responsibility. Later in the year, it was an evening. I'd never really been out of Ohio, and now I'm in Vietnam. I'm 20 years old, and I'm working with different companies every week. I never worked with the same people, so I was alone all the time. And I can remember one evening, about 6 o'clock, we had got in, and we were at a fire support base. And I was laying there, and every now and then they would fly beer out or pop out, and everybody get a can of beer. It didn't happen often, but I wasn't with the company, so there were no extras. So they were all getting a beer, and I wasn't. And I remember laying on the ground there, and it's a moment in time that just sits inside me. It was the loneliest day of my life. It was the loneliest day of my life. I'll never forget it. I thought, I'm here. There's nobody else. I'm all alone. And that has served me well. Because as a leader, we all have to decide there's moments where we have to stand alone. It's called personal responsibility. No one can do it for you. There could be 100 people around you because there were 100 people around me. But in that moment, I was alone. And as executive director, there's a lot of times where I feel like I'm alone. I make decisions that people don't like. And I can't always justify why I'm doing it because that isn't part of leadership either. And so the 3 questions that I learned when I was in Vietnam, and I didn't even know I was learning them at the time. Am I prepared? Am I safe? Am I alone? They're all feelings. They're all feelings. And what I notice about people is sometimes they get their feelings mixed up with their actions. They think because they feel afraid they shouldn't do something. And I tell my grads all the time when I'm in class, here's how it works. It's so simple. You can be afraid and not have what you want. You can be afraid and have what you want. Either way, you're going to be afraid. Anybody in here ever been afraid? Has it killed you? Imagine that you sacrifice your dreams because of a feeling. You sacrifice your dreams. I'm afraid. I better not do this. Looking for that guarantee. And how many times instinctively we know the answer? we know the answer. Triumph and disaster, the two imposters. Triumph and disaster are only indicators of the moment. They aren't the sum of your life. They aren't the sum of your life. See, because a good accumulation of triumph and disaster ends up a marvelous life. I've made some of the dumbest decisions you can imagine. You know, there's times I think, what was I thinking when I decided that? You know, I tell people all the time, I'm thinking about starting a consulting business, and anything I'm getting in, I'm going to direct you in the other direction. Because it seems like a lot of the decisions I make show up at the most inopportune times. As business leaders and entrepreneurs, I know you're doing the same thing. And I work with people every month in, month out. One missing ingredient, just one. Courage. Courage is the missing ingredient. Courage is what we need to live a great life. Courage is what we need to make a great decision. Courage is what we need to stand alone when it's time to stand alone and be personally responsible. Courage. And that's my mission, is to work to inspire people to find the courage to do the right thing for themselves. Number one, then you inspire the people around you, because everybody's looking for freedom. And freedom is about being who you are. And I see wildly successful people being captured by things that really don't fill them up in life. I work with executives all the time. Something's missing. Something's missing. You know what the something is? Them. They aren't engaged in their life. They aren't fully present. See, when I was in Vietnam, came back, nobody wanted to talk about it. And oftentimes they said, the Vietnam conflict. Anybody remember that? Vietnam conflict. Do you know what the difference is between conflict and war? Conflict is when you're here and it's over there. Conflict is when you're sitting in the back seat and somebody else is making a decision. War is when you're on point. So each day if you get up and you're running your company, it may feel like you're at war from the standpoint of feelings. But that doesn't mean you can't pull your troops together and really make a difference. And so the whole idea is, how can we rise above it? How can we rise above fear, have the courage to make the right decisions? Obviously, this group has made a lot of the right decisions, because you're sitting in this room. Over 500 people sitting here says this is important. This is important. And so I encourage you to keep making decisions. Just make them. You're going to be wrong sometimes. You're going to be right sometimes. Some will feel like triumph. Some will feel like disaster. But in the end, we can learn from all those experiences. And so my hope is that you continue that journey forward, and that if I could be a resource to you in any way, that you would contact me and let me know what I can do for you. So I'd like to close by thanking the Chamber for inviting me to speak here, and Laurie Brinkman, most especially you, for having the courage to let me up here on the stage. So I want to thank you all, and good luck in the awards.